Hello, and welcome to another video. This video we're going to go over two balance games. Luckily, they happen to be on the same map, but I am playing two different builds. So I'm trying out the reduced cooldown on 4 speed, and I am not taking my usual AoE disturbance or lightning strike. I do like that one a lot, and I'll probably continue using that one most of the time because I'm a little bit more greedy for AoE, so that's pretty nice. And this is the first time that I'm really trying out the AoE Demolish. This match isn't amazing for AoE Demolish, but you know, I get some AoE Demolishes out, which is nice. This is pretty much a pure DPS game, so you can't really expect too much. I think they did get a healer, but it didn't really... Or no, the next game they get a healer, but it didn't really matter. So I ended up playing a single target for the next one. The reduced cooldown on 4 speed is amazing. You don't actually have to be hit for it to trigger. It'll trigger off your dots, at least it does on balance, which is kind of crazy, but you know, whatever, not a big deal. And for the most part, nothing has changed like fundamentally with how Madness or balance plays. So with the changes of having 4 speed up more often, it's just going to make it easier for you to use your 4 speed when you need to, instead of just using it for damage all the time. Which obviously you can still use it for damage if you need to, but you'll be able to have it up more often, which is just great. You'll be able to kite a lot more. Your sheer mobility is crazy. There's an animation now when you actually leech life from people because you have a dot on them. It makes it a little bit easier for people to find you. No more sneaking around throwing pebbles and nobody ever noticing you. You can still like hide pretty well, but if somebody really wants to hit you, they'll follow the leech life animation. It'll be a lot easier for people to follow you. So I kind of like that change. That makes it more apparent that you're getting hit by something that's basically invisibly hitting you. Obviously you can see the debuffs from the dots and whatnot, and if you're getting attacked by the pebbles, then obviously see it, but you may not see it if you're, you know, your ally is getting hit by it. You may not actually see it in the heat of battle when there's a whole bunch of stuff going on. So I think that's a good change. The 4 speed, I don't know, like, after playing with it, how to put it, I like it, right? But at the same time, I feel like the way it is now is just a little too strong. Now, if other classes had similar things, it probably wouldn't be so bad, but it's not really the case. Only certain things can really stay on target with Madness having this. So I would say like APPT, obviously it's a pull, double leap, and like Marauders running double leap and Rage Juggernaut. Those are like the main melee that all have not much issue staying on target with the 4 speed reduction. However, pretty much everything else is going to have a lot harder time. I don't think that's a terrible thing, but at the same time I do think that we should probably not go forward to more mobility and probably draw back, because there's a lot of crazy movement in this game, and it would probably just be better for everybody if it, you know, sorcerers aren't force feeding every like 10 seconds or less. It's pretty obnoxious. Even more so when you have them stacked. Now, unfortunately, the unique thing about this is that even with this changing, it doesn't actually make this class, how to put it, like, capable of dealing with like the meta specs, if that makes sense, like the APPT, Rage Jug, or how to put it, I guess double leap Marauder predation. Those classes were on them in like a tank heal arena, and both teams were like getting proper support. Chances are they might go even with the Marauders, but for the Rage Jug and the APPT will just absolutely roll all over the Madness Orc. There's like not much he can do. And then for Rage Jug, Madness kind of has a chance to maybe get the Rage Jug killed, but it'd be like a triple tunnel kind of situation. And even then, Rage Jug it sticks to you like glue, even with the reduced cooldown on 4 speed. You can get away though, not impossible, obviously, it just needs to overload. but they are very, very sticky, and that's kind of like the way they're designed though, so they don't really have DR to boot to like help their durability, so I think it's not like the worst of situations. Losing Cloud Mine I think is a great trade, because they do have a lot of DR available if they did pass the DR. So you can either take Cloud Mine or the DR, and I think it's relatively balanced. I think if they just nerf the force speed just a little bit, I think this would be perfectly fine and not overpowered, not obnoxious. I think it'd be in a good spot. However, I do think the self-healing of Madness is, I would say, a little high. I would like to see less lifesteal and less healing from damage abilities and more healing from actual healing abilities like Resurgence for Madness. Give it a different buff besides just increasing your damage reduction by 3%-ish. It's around 3%. So if you didn't know, you can use Rejuvenate or Resurgence and increase your damage reduction by a little bit. If the healing was a little bit higher on Madness, just like a special little perk or something, put more emphasis on the fact that it actually does increase your damage reduction, it'd be nice to see the healing come from that. And the static barrier heal is really nice, but as soon as your static barrier is broken, that heal's gone. If that heal maybe was nerfed a little bit and lingered for the entire duration of the lockout, that would be cool. But the problem is the percent heals are just so strong, and you should probably push away from those. So things like Dark Heal, healing for more would just be better. The class doesn't really have energy management issues unless it's actually spamming Dark Heal, and I wish its heals would be more important. So for example, if you're just like free casting nonstop, DPSing basically nonstop on somebody or multiple people, or just one person, for example, you're doing about 7k HPS just to yourself. You're not using your Rejuvenate, your Resurgence, you're not using your static barrier or whatever. So you're not getting any of the actual heals that you have, you're not using them on yourself. It's just the passive healing from your damaging abilities. That's a lot of healing. And especially since you have the DR to tie with it, it ends up being very solid. Which is reminiscent of Lethality, but Lethality does even less healing unless it's actually putting probes on itself and rolling for Culto Infusion. And even then, I'd say they're relatively around the same area. Obviously, I would say I'd be more favorable for Lethality just because it has more damage reduction available to it. It just doesn't have the same uptime of damage reduction. And it seems like, I don't think they've nerfed it, but it seems like maintaining your 3 stacks of your damage reduction is a little bit easier to fall off and procs a little bit less often than when it used to. I don't know if it's just Smash is just all over the place or they changed it a little bit, but overall I feel it's not too crazy, I guess you could say. Obviously you see me just running around, just not dying for an entire match, just killing everybody. Yeah, the class is strong. There's a lot of healing, as I said. A lot of that healing is percent health. When it's percent health, you don't really have to stop the cast to heal yourself. You don't really see me healing myself unless, you know, I'm just topping myself off. And for the most part, you don't really see me on the back foot, like at all. There are some situations where you can call it sketchy, but for the most part, it's not that bad. I pretty much always have something to fall back on to. There's like that one point where I had to, not finish it, but I had to phase walk, and that was just because I didn't want to phase walk it right away. I didn't think he would crit me really hard, but he did. So I phase walked it. That could have gone worse for me, but that's just me being greedy. And then on top of that, we have the single tire build, which is even more healing, by the way. We'll see that after this match is over. You can kind of get an idea of it. And then just because he's got Shadowcraft, I'm just going to barrier this because I don't really need barrier anyway, and I've not had to really attempt to play, I guess, the entire match like defensively, so I'm just using it. Obviously, if I was being targeted a lot more, using my barrier like that, it's not a good idea. It'd probably be better just to instantly phase walk that. I just didn't want to run back from my phase, so I was greedy and I decided to do it this way. Then as for, like if you want to play the build that I normally would probably play, This is definitely not I do not really care for the AoE demolish, and for the most part I don't really find people stacking up like that, and if I do find people stacking like that, the AoE like lightning strike will do pretty much the same damage anyway. So I find myself just not really liking this build and not really liking the tactical that I'm running. So the next one, basically we've tried out force speed and we figured out whether we like it or not. I think it's pretty cool. I think it will benefit this build more. So this one is Tempest of Row. You can use Mystic's Resist Blade. I choose not to just because I don't really want that extra dueling potential and I don't really want that extra single target burst. I want more consistent damage. So if I run into a tank, Tempest of Row procs a lot and does a lot of damage, and it's internal damage. So it shreds tanks very fast. So this entire match I'm just running a single turret. So we got Death Brand and Tempest of Row, so we're always trying to get 4, which will proc Tempest of Row. As long as I have 4 on the target, if I use Telekinetic Throw or Disturbance, it will proc Tempest of Row. So whenever I'm using my Telekinetic Throw or Force Lightning, a lot of damage is going out. And then obviously pair that with the retick of Death Brand, or I guess it's Force and Balance or something. I don't know what it's called on this side. You end up having a lot of single target damage, and it feels really good. I believe the Force, or not the Force, but the average damage per like loop or whatever is more than enough to 100 somebody. So it's not really a slacker in damage unless your Death Brand hits like incredibly low, but it does retick, and if you get lucky with reticks, you just shred people. So whenever you're using Telekinetic Throw, Force Lightning, really it's bread and butter of your rotation. You really just shred people. And Disturbance, obviously, use full channel Telekinetic Throw. It's a Disturbance. Disturbance will proc Tempest of Row 100%. Telekinetic Throw will only do 50%. So when you get that going, you obviously full channel Telekinetic Throw into Disturbance, and then Telekinetic Throw Disturbance, and then you have to redo your dots, and then use your other big hitting abilities like Demolish, Death Brand, and Legion Strike, or whatever it's called. Force Leech. Then you go to Telekinetic Throw, Disturbance, Telekinetic Throw, Disturbance. With Polarity, you can get 3 Telekinetic Throws to Disturbance. Or is it 4? I don't know. It's been a little bit. But as you see, I'm just shredding this guy. Absolutely. He's like, he points at me because he told me that there was a stealther that was just hiding by him. And he wanted me to AoE, but I ended up shredding him too fast, so he wasn't able to really explain what he was doing. Unfortunately, I don't really have any AoE. I'm pure single target. He didn't know that either, but I'm sure he figured it out after I was just constantly shredding everybody that wasn't doing like crazy AoE. Not sure what this guy was doing. I think he lost me as soon as I force fed, but I think he's Hatred. Yeah, he's Hatred. Yeah, I have no idea what he's doing, but he's like the only person that like kind of like fights, and he's like always got Shroud, which is understandable. It's a low cooldown. And this is where I noticed, like, okay, I have a healer, and another team is like really playing. This sucks. You know, I hate seeing like a solo healer queuing up and just getting mobbed to death with no help, no support. Like, he doesn't have a team. I don't know. Like, the healer doesn't need to be on our team because we're fine, but I do feel like, I don't know. It hurts to see healers, you know, get on a team and nobody like takes advantage of it or appreciates them. They just kind of waste it all. I really don't want the ball, so I'm just like bear it away because I don't want to try to throw it. So when I have the ball, it's extra CC, and I really don't want netted right now. So I just completely avoid it. Also, I never really do what I did. I only do that because I'm more than confident that I don't need my bearer, but also at the same time, I'm more than confident that whoever in this match I can probably deal with, because I am playing the single target build, and I want to see, like, I want to push limits. And if I have barrier, I'm going to be sitting on phase walk and barrier the whole time, and I'm probably not going to have to use it, and you know that showcases nothing. Obviously this match is being a complete stomp, so you don't really get to see any of the raw defensive power or anything. You just get to see that hey, if you do get the free cast, learning how to actually do damage en masse, not moving constantly and actually using telekinetic throw / force lightning more often will mean more damage. More damage means more pressure. More pressure means that you kill them before they kill you. And if you have frontline, you'll kill them before your frontline dies, which means that your frontline can heal up and re-engage, and you pretty much always have a frontline, so therefore you're pretty much always able to free cast. So it is very important that you do more damage. And also as a pyro, making sure that I have my internal damage up and just pretty much prioritizing my telekinetic throw into disturbance to get the internal damage proc for Tempest of Row. Because he is very tanky against dots, however, the internal damage still shreds him. And this guy has 1 second eradicate. Doesn't really hit me very hard. I'm not taking .dr. I don't even know where that is in tree, but definitely don't recommend taking it. But for the most part, it's passive DR I have, and it seems like he doesn't have very much gear, so he only hit me for like, what, 3k per tick? That's pretty bad. Not having gear in PvP is a very rough situation, I feel, for all those people that are in that situation. Definitely try to get your gear figured out. And one thing you can think about in these matches, I am durable, so I can take a fight, so that's why I'm trying to be a little bit more in melee and make sure that I can cast people, or cast on people non-stop. Obviously, if I wasn't as durable, or I was running more of a situation where I just don't want to take damage, I'd be up in the rafters above us and shooting down below. I would pretty much, anytime I don't have any allies, I would go line of sight, like just out of sight, out of mind kind of like thing. And if they don't see me or they can't like immediately target me, they're not going to get to me. And then I just wait until somebody else engages, and I rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat. Just keep doing that. Obviously, I don't really have to do that in this situation, which is perfectly fine. And finally, I have to like kind of use some stuff, but I'm not like actually in danger. I was just sitting there face tanking things that I didn't have to. And then obviously I use my bubble now, so you can start seeing the passive heals. It's about 3.2k, 3.4. And then I'm starting to get the percent heals from Leech and other things that I'm using. Obviously, after you use your Death Field or Death Brand, and you use Telekinetic Throw / Force Lightning, it'll give you a lot of healing, so it's definitely really important to try to use Telekinetic Throw or Force Lightning after using Death Field if you need healing. I know it's part of your rotation too, so it's good. Always be channeling. That's pretty much just kind of like how range work. If you're not constantly casting things, you're not really making use of your range advantage, or I guess privilege, as I do call my my gunslinger privilege. It really is, honestly. You gotta take advantage of the front line taking all the damage, taking all the CC, but you just sit there and do whatever the hell you want, basically. And when you don't take advantage of being able to do whatever the hell you want, your front line's going to die, and then they're going to start hitting you, and it's going to be a bad time. So it's definitely important to, 1, get your gear right, 2, figuring out how to do damage. You don't have to perfect the rotation or anything. Just understand what does damage, how it does damage, and just constantly cast things to get damage out, damage going. Don't have to be perfect. Just worry about using everything you have. And I believe the end of the game is coming up here. We do have a APPT on our team, so really the survival of the enemy team is not very high in the first place, but it doesn't end up doing like crazy amount of damage, so it doesn't really matter. And since I'm playing single targets, I have a better chance to compete with APPT's damage, so that's pretty much just what I'm doing, just trying to kill everybody non-stop. And the fact that, you know, their team comes in like staggered, like 1 by 1 by 1, it benefits a single target build a lot better. Now if they all came together, obviously the AoE build would be much better, but because they're just coming 1 by 1, it's better. And if I was to pick a more duelist kind of playstyle, I would definitely play this build. really the only difference of what I have in my guide is obviously Tempest Row, and the reason is force speed and the passive DR. Pretty straightforward. Death Brand, pretty much always on cooldown. That is your kiting tool. And sometimes when you're about to get hit or before you're about to get hit, you either force speed before you get rooted, or it's about a second or two after you've been rooted. And Rage Jug pretty much always stick to you. So if you have any questions about balance or madness, feel free to leave comments.